Oh gosh, guys, I am so sorry. I have muted myself on the live stream the entire time. Oh. Okay. So they're just looking at me gesturing. Oh, the poor people. Okay. Yeah. You can hear your voice, but no music. Muted the YouTube. Makes sense. All right. Oh, freaking no. Oh man, I'm gonna have to do better next time. I'm so sorry, guys. This is my first time doing this. I don't usually stream myself. I'm not a YouTuber. Okay, well, I guess I'll just tell them to go to a certain postmark. But okay, so let me do a quick recap for the people who were watching the stream and like, it is silent the whole time. Okay, we're talking about portfolios. We're talking about how many pieces we should put in a portfolio. And most people say 10 to 12. I say only put your best work. And that can just be 5. That could be 2. I mean, 2 is quite little, but if you're only proud of 2, stick to those 2 and make more work on that level so that your work is consistent, it's at a very professional level quality, and professional in your mind, professional as good as you can get. And then when you get feedback, you get quality feedback on the level you're at right then, and not work that you did freshman year or junior year, if that makes sense. So if I was to do that, like if I was to show someone my portfolio now and got feedback, they'll be commenting on stuff from 2016, 2012, 2017, and that's not necessarily what I want if I want to do a fresh portfolio for pre-production. I am going to start from scratch and make everything because I want to be able to get quality feedback on the level I'm at right then and there, and not, hey, so this work is a little poor, and then I have to explain myself. I'm like, oh yeah, I did that back when I was in college. It looks not good. So you want to make sure that your stuff is at a level of quality. So that's my answer to that. Don't just aim for 10 to 12, because then people tend to stuff things in there and then they're not happy with it. Aim for best work only, because your portfolio is as strong as your weakest stuff, and so they will fixate on the weakest stuff if you have it. But like, even if you have a really strong first impression, really amazing splash page, all that stuff, then they're like, oh, why is this here? And again, people who are first looking at portfolio are usually not creative people. They're the doorway to the creative people. So you have to get through them first before an art director sees your work, unfortunately. Sometimes they look at it together, sometimes, but not all the time. And especially if you're doing freelance work with a company that's not usually creative and you have to teach them what you do, then you have to make it as clear as possible how good you are and that you're qualified for the job. Extremely clear. So always keep in mind that someone uncreative is going to look at your work first, and then that should kind of inform you of your decision. So hopefully that gives you the answer you're looking for. Let's see, I had points here. Okay, right. So let's look at another artist. Let's look at Jin Kim that I've mentioned before. Let me see if I can find him. Okay, I guess I'll put Harold back up. Oh, Harold's not here. art390.com. Okay. All right, so back to artists. We're gonna go look at Jin Kim's Tumblr. Now, this guy has over 25 years of experience. He can get away with having a Tumblr of just the sketches he's done. But if you just Google him and look at any Jin Kim character model sheets, it's nuts. He's crazy. He's really good at what he does. This is his Tumblr. And you can scroll down, you can see some of the works that he's done for the latest Wreck-It Ralph. I haven't seen the latest Wreck-It Ralph. Forgive me. That's my fault. Okay, yeah, I know. It took me this long to actually watch Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, and I cried so much in that movie because visual imagery stays with me for a very long time, so I'm very selective of what I watch. But yeah, so I still have to see it, and I will see it. But that being said, we can take a look at some of the stuff he's done. I'm actually just going to do a Google search of his stuff. Jin Kim. There we go. I already did it. And I'll give you guys a super long link to it. You can see that a lot of his work has these expression poses sheets. The one for Flynn Rider is one of my favorite because for a male lead, he's extremely expressive, and I love that. It's not the typical Disney prince. So he's pushing the face to the point of crazy exaggeration, but it's still locked on the character's skeleton underneath. You can feel the edge of his face. You can feel the bones underneath his flesh. And he's doing these upturned angles and giving a picture of everything that Flynn Rider can do face-wise. And every single one of his character model sheets, the character is very consistent. You feel the flesh on the bone, which sounds very morbid, I know, but like it's so rooted. The one of, God, I'm not remembering her name. Mother Gothel. Yeah, the one of Mother Gothel is also one of my favorites to look at because she does have a bony face and she has kind of like that gaunt look going for her, but she has such a crazy range of expressions here. And I feel that if you were to learn from anyone and to see how someone does it, learn from Jin Kim. And you can learn from Glenn Keane too, obviously, but if you want to learn like super clean technical, because Glenn Keane is amazing at what he does, he's very loose. So sometimes it's hard to make out underneath his lines. He's very good at getting the motion down. So learn from Jin Kim if you want to get those clean technical sketches for character poses and emotions. Yeah, so that is, and also another thing, I used to be very tired of the Disney style because you see it everywhere, especially when you go to CTN, you see everyone copying the same style because the advice they get from them, which is true, I mean, it's good advice, is you need to be able to draw in the style of the studio that's established. Now, this is no disrespect to all the artists who put hard work into doing those styles, but I get so visually drained at seeing it, and especially if you go to a convention that is meant for animation, and you see everyone's tables, and their art looks the same. They all do, because it's a style that they've had to work really hard and lock down and get the posing right, get the technicality right, that it gets ingrained into them and it just works. Now, you should definitely learn how to do the style of the studio that you're applying for, because again, they want to see if you're able to fit into the studio. If you can't, then it becomes a problem of a fit, and then you'll probably be, kicked out. But I'm mostly talking for movie studios now. Don't only have that style. Show your range, show your depth, show that you can do other things, show that you have a lot of variety, and show that you can take on anything they throw at you, but you also have your own stuff as well. That's very important. Don't lose your personality, is pretty much what I'm telling you. Know how to do technical stuff, because it's very, very good skill to have. Okay, so that is with Jin Kim. I'm gonna take a look at one more person. He's one of my favorite, I don't even know what to call him, concept artist, illustrator. Like, he's a concept artist in the game industry, I believe, but his characterization of his stuff is wild. And the amazing thing is that you always recognize what he does. So you always recognize the people that he draws. So this guy is named Ramon Nunes. He is I don't even know what to call him, but he's an artist based in South America. And if you take a quick look in his Instagram, immediately you see incredible illustrations, personality in every character, really good compositions, really good color choices, and it feels super loose, but there's still that level of finish. And I feel like this is a completely appropriate level of finish too to have in your portfolio. This is fine. Of course, he's crazy amazing at his angles and at his posing, and especially the characterization of the face, because you could read all the emotions. And if you can get the clarity of this much emotion in your characters, you're doing something good. You're doing something really good. But yeah. And he has a YouTube channel as well, which he answers some questions. You can learn from him. I've learned quite a bit of stuff from him just by like studying his drawings. And I love the different takes that he has. I always try to find artists from all over the place to inspiration that I can learn from, because I always know that there's people better than me. So I just try to steal their ideas. Yeah, so far. Oh, what is a good way to study an artist in depth? So a really great way to study an artist in depth is to literally trace over their work. And I know that sounds super taboo, but don't just post the work as your own, obviously. But trace over the work to go on the same path that they're doing. Like, understand why they chose the colors, or understand the angles that they're doing. You can do classic studies of hands from like the masters even, and see how they pose their hands. You can pause videos of certain animations and try to do that same exact type of animation yourself, because it's such a great learning tool. It really is. Copying and tracing, great learning tools, but it is, yes, exactly, Toast, like walking in their shoes. but there is a danger of only doing their style. So you have to do the study with intent. So the whole time you're studying, you're asking yourself questions. You can never turn off your brain. Yeah. There you go. That works too, Josh. Don't do that to people in real life. That might be kind of creepy. But yeah, like from their artwork, you free reign, right? You get a whole bunch of art that inspires you, and then you try to learn from them and study from them and do studies. For example, I mean, it's not studying from a person, but I have several people that I'm inspired by. I was learning how to paint rocks. I painted several rocks. I really want to know how to be able to render rocks well, and also to be able to make them look like they're glowing. So I just went through the series of just staring at rocks on Pinterest, and also looking at other artists who depicted rocks. And which is like, this is a really hilarious conversation I'm saying, but like it really helped me in like figuring it out. And then I was able to paint, let me see if I can find it, behind the scenes. Yeah, paint these guys. Open dimensional. It's in, oops, desktop. It's over in the behind the scenes, but I'll post it in our chat just for posterity's sake. But I was able to get to somewhat realistic rocks. There we go. Yeah, so steal like an artist, you know? Take from several sources, study what they do. Sometimes if you can't get it, just break it down, trace it. If you still don't get it, ask someone else to help you break it down. Yeah, so, and then once you're studying it and you absorb it, you start practicing what they do and then absorb it. And then in my mind, you should actually not continue to do what they do, because then you start locking down their style and just only copying them. You should break away from it, do something else, do something that you're comfortable with, and vice versa. But take what you've learned from those studies and move forward. Does that make sense? Do you guys need even more specific examples, or did I cover that pretty much so far? All right, I'm gonna turn down swing beats even more. Good, hard, glowy rocks, yes. Okay, so that's what I mean by studying from the illustrators, animators, game designers you admire, because it can get overwhelming when you're just looking at their work, right? Because you're like, there is no way in heck I'll be able to do this. But you can't think like that. You have to think like, how did they do this? And break it down. And sometimes you just need to trace and be like, okay, this is the shape that they chose. Okay, these are the colors that they did. I dropped the colors and be like, this is the palette they used. How did they get to this certain look? How to get to these certain colors? And go from there. I am almost always looking up ways on how to improve my workflow in Photoshop, because up until like 2 years ago, I was very uncomfortable with painting in Photoshop, until I was like, I have to get comfortable painting in Photoshop because that's what everyone does. And so I spent a solid year of just painting, and then I made it even harder for myself. I'm like, I need to also get comfortable in doing backgrounds. So I made a solid year of just doing backgrounds, and that's actually how our Dream Sheep game came about. Let me pull up my website again. And the Dream Sheep backgrounds, I stared at Steven Universe backgrounds and colors until I was blue in the face. And I just looked at it non-stop. And that's what was my launching pad. And you can kind of see the similarities now that I mentioned it. And then I actually had someone coaching me on how to make the backgrounds even better. And they're like, oh, you could do better line work here, make sure you clean up here. Because I tend to have a really loose, messy style, but I was working really hard to have a level of finish that I felt was complete. And this game was done, it was done 2 years ago, right? No, 3 years ago now. Right, 3 years. Yeah, this game is done 3 years ago now, but I still feel comfortable showing it because it was something that I worked really, really hard on. And I felt that currently at my level right now, I would still be able to produce something like this. And it still represents the amount, like the kind of artwork I can do. So that is how I took Steven Universe backgrounds, which are amazing, and especially Sam Bosma's work, who's incredible with his character design, color choices, his illustration stuff. If you don't know who he is, he's amazing. You guys should totally look him up. And then I applied it to my own and made it my own. So if that makes sense. Okay. All right. Thanks, guys. Well, I see some people have to go, but I'll cover one more point. And this one is actually really important. Let's talk about, you guys did the work. You guys made all the stuff. You put the work in and you're really wanting to show someone and you really want to talk to someone in the industry, and I have some friends here who've been gracious enough to join us who have been part of the industry, let's talk about professionalism and etiquette. And you know, the small fine print. It's actually very important because, again, you only get one chance to do a first impression. Sorry, I'll be brief about this. I'll be brief. This is something I will emphasize later on because I can't stress the importance of this enough, because everyone in the animation industry knows each other and it's all about relationships. So if you do not know how to conduct yourself, then you're gonna have a really hard time. You really will. Like, I'm not talking if you're quiet. If you're quiet, that's fine. You know, it's something that you'll have to overcome a little bit to put yourself out there. But I've met plenty of people in the animation industry who are very quiet, but they still get jobs constantly and they still go to some functions and whatnot, and it tires them out. They do that effort and then, you know, they keep to themselves. When I was working at Cosmos, I didn't join any social events because I'm like, guys, I'm going home because I'm tired as heck. I have to travel 80 miles a day. I'm leaving. I never went drinking with them, but I always made sure to, you know, keep in touch with them, talk to them in the studio, see how they're doing, that kind of thing. The line between professionalism, I can't even say the word, professionalism and friendship can sometimes be blurry, especially when you're in that type of situation, because there is like, people get recommended all the time by like just name-to-name basis, and so it can feel really hard to break in when you're trying to get into that tight-knit circle, which is not very much at all. It's just the reason why it feels so tight is because the window of opportunity to get in is so small. It really is. People on the outside, which is you guys, do not know when the productions are starting, right? You don't know when pre-production is starting, you don't know when production is starting or where the animation's going. And you don't know when post-production's starting. No one tells you these things. So you're kind of just like, I need this unicorn of time. I need to be able to grab someone by I don't want to grab someone by the horns. I was gonna say something completely inappropriate. Don't do that. But you know, you want to be able to shake someone and like get their attention and it's like, please look at my work. Okay, first of all, don't do that. It's not professional, and they're usually very, very, very busy. For example, I know you guys are all adults here, but you will be surprised. You'll be very surprised. And I'm not saying you guys as an example. I'm talking about other people who have approached me, and I'm like, whoa, whoa, do you know how you're coming off as? Because I don't think you know how you're coming off as. It's very, anyway. So, when you email someone or when you have a chance to meet someone, always be courteous of their time and thank them that they're looking at your stuff. And then if they don't get back to you, it's not that because you're the worst thing ever, which is what I always used to feel. It's, you know, I would always default to like, they don't want me, I'm not good enough, and I just cry in a corner. Like, seriously, when my first job with Final Space, like, I almost didn't get it because I didn't send the second email. My husband had to send the second email because I'm like, they don't want me, I'm not good enough. And he was like, you're being stupid. Let me send it. It was the fourth email, right? Yeah, he had to send it. And I was just like, I don't want to bother them. They don't really want. And then it turns out the main producer was in Canada for like 3 weeks. So he didn't see any of my emails. So I had to be persistent and then email the initial director and also someone else, and then he finally got in contact with me, and then it was like, yes, we really need you, come in for an interview, and I did, and then I got the job. So it's a fine balance of being persistent, but don't be relentless, you know? Be persistent, be polite. Yes, also Rudy has a great point. Don't be afraid of rejection. It's not necessarily means that you're not good enough, it just means you're not a good fit for what they're looking for. So you have to keep going. And like I said, the window of opportunity is oftentimes very small. Sometimes they need someone within a week, and that's really, really hard. It's really hard to have a portfolio ready and you're like, I need to get my portfolio ready in a week, but then someone else already has a portfolio ready and they're like, oh, here it is. And so then they get the job and you're like, shoot, I should have my portfolio ready, and then you go down the spiral of anguish and despair. Maybe that's just me. Maybe I'm just, you know, really hard on myself, but I'm just saying, speaking from experience, like it really, yes, Angela is definitely on the money with that. So that is something that why I really want to talk to you guys about your portfolios now, because if I had a professional grade portfolio once I graduated college, I wouldn't have gone through all the failures that I've had. But sometimes failure is the best teacher, and I'm not wishing for you guys to fail, but if you do, at least at first, you keep going, because everyone has failed and then they just kept going. So it's just about being persistent for yourself, being your own cheerleader, and being professional, definitely. Also, work on how you email producers. Even if the producers have the worst grammar in the world, definitely work on your tone and work on how you come off in writing, because that is usually how you first communicate for potential job offers. They usually don't call. They don't have time to call because their time is very precious and limited, so they will check their email in like one sitting. And so if they email you and ask you for portfolio, make it as clear as possible for them, and so that they can navigate everything very easily, because they will literally only have a minute to look at your stuff and make a quick split section decision if you deserve the interview or not. So I can't stress that enough. Like, make it as easy as possible for them. Be very clear in your emails, and if they don't follow through, like if they don't get back to you right away, even though they say they will, don't message them the next day. Like, wait like a week or something. And this kind of etiquette I had to learn on my own, and I didn't necessarily like, well, I mean, as you heard from the story, I didn't like completely persist and was continually harassing the people, but I've had people do that to me, and I'll be like, girl, I don't want to talk to you ever again. I don't ever want to offer you a job. I can't in my right mind offer you a job because you are crazy. And you don't want to have that, you don't want to have people to have that impression. So you really want to make sure that you come off professionally in your emails, in your text messages, even in your phone calls. I got the Cosmos job through Facebook, funnily enough, because I just saw a producer make a post and I said, hey, here's my stuff, and I sent her my email and I got the job. So yeah, it all counts. It really does. Okay, I think that's the last point I have for you guys for now. We can definitely do another one of these sessions again, and I will ask you guys what you guys want to talk about next time. I feel like there's so much more we could cover, and then hopefully next time we can maybe even have some of my friends talk to you guys about what they specifically do, or the several things they do. In Frank's case, Frank says everything. Frank is a studio. So, but you guys can actually ask them questions. We can also set up some Ask Them Anythings, so that you guys can write down a bunch of questions they have and they can go through it in their spare time, because again, all of my friends are very busy. Angela, I even asked Aaron if he wanted to join, but it's like the thick of production, right? Like he can't even like have a chance to look. So yeah, so I mean, it's fine. Like Aaron's super cool, BoJack director Aaron. Like, because I always saw him playing his Switch in the stuff, but he said that he was totally, oh yeah, Frank, Aaron too. Yeah, he said he was totally down for playing the game, but he doesn't really know Discord, and he's like swamped. And I was like, oh, I completely understand. Don't mind me. So I'm glad that you guys popped in for the chat. If you guys want to stay afterwards, I'm going to stop the stream after I'm done, but if you have more questions and you want to ask questions through microphone or through the chat, I'm more than willing to. This is the TED Talk. This is just honestly from my own experience, but also from talking with other people who've been in the industry longer than I have. You're right, Josh. Sorry, I'm coughing into your ear. But yeah, this is pretty much from what I've collected from experiencing it and talking to producers, talking to directors, and all sorts of people. So yeah, I'm really happy to share this with you guys, because I hope that it helps you out. There's just gonna be stuff that you guys are gonna have to learn on your own. I can't tell you everything. So, but yeah, for sure, we will definitely have another night of chatting about work. Maybe we can even do like live portfolio reviews. I can even do a live stream of my art if my computer isn't so slow. Yeah. Yeah, so it'll be a good time. I'm really looking forward to doing these more. And oh, by the way, class, the people who are the warriors, most of them are, pretty much all of them are from the Final Space Discord that I was part of before, and then I created tons of chaos in there by drawing all sorts of things. So they know they know a very different side of me. So this like professional professor side of me is very different from. Oh, well, there you go. Yeah, there's that. I definitely do that. I have to claim that. I didn't animate that, but I definitely do that. Oh, yeah. It's like eye cancer. But yeah, so I really enjoyed this. Oh wow, they know. They know. Okay, guys. Well, have a good night. Get lots of rest. I will see you next week. You're welcome to stay in the chat and Discord. I'm going to stop the stream now. The poor people who's going to check the stream later. I'm such a dingus. I'll do better about the stream next time and make sure that I don't mute myself for more than half the conversation. Anyhow, let me stop the stream now. Alrighty.